All right, so let's think about this. When to shut down? Well, it's actually really hard to shut down because it takes an active decision. Something we see a lot is companies that things are going okay, but nobody's really excited about it. It's not growing, but it's not dying. And the founder doesn't really know what to do, doesn't want to pull the plug, and that's when something goes to zombie mode. Now, zombie mode is dangerous. A zombie startup, it doesn't look like anything's happening, and people get bored and sad, and it just can go and go and go forever. You don't want to end up there. The way that I would suggest you think about it is you look at whether or not the business is growing. If the business isn't growing at all, you have to ask yourself the question of whether or not you have any ideas on how to make it grow again. Remember that startups are, in a large part, defined by growth. That is kind of what makes a startup a startup. If you're out of ideas on how to grow the business, well, that's a pretty good sign that you should shut it down, or at least move on. Now, if you find an idea, and you say, hey, this is an idea that can drive growth, we think it's gonna work, well, then you have to ask yourself the question of whether or not you can drive that growth profitably. Now, let's say those two conditions are met. Well, will that growth, will the thing that you're building to drive that growth actually be something that you want to work on? Now, this might seem strange, but often in going for growth and pushing a new idea, founders change the nature of their businesses. You want to call it a pivot, a swivel, something, whatever, a change in direction. You have to be sure that you want to work on the thing that you're working on. And then finally, you have to be sure that you want to work with the people that you're working with. And this is a really tough decision because you start out working on an idea with people that maybe they're your best friends, maybe you think you're perfect fits, but after years of working together, you might decide you don't want to anymore. And that's okay. People get confused by this. People really think, oh, I have to stick with this person that I started with. I have to stick with the thing forever. And it's just not true. It's okay, right? It's okay to shut the company down. It's okay to quit. But you do have to think about something else, which is the stakeholders in your business. And it's not just you or your co-founders. If you're lucky enough to have users, you have to think about how to message to them that you're shutting down. And don't worry, they won't be that upset as long as you tell them. The thing you shouldn't do is just turn the servers off one day around 3 p.m. and hope they fend for themselves. Tell them what's going on. You might have investors. Don't worry about them either. If they're professional investors, they probably expected to lose their money. Now, if they're friends and family, you do have a more difficult conversation to have. You should have it openly and you should have it honestly. And you should tell them what went on and make it clear that you did everything you could to build a business to make their investment a good one, but it just didn't work out. And then there's the most important thing, which is your employees. If you're lucky enough to have hired people who are still working for you, you owe it to them to tell them what's going on as soon as you can, as soon as it's reasonable, and help them figure out what comes next. At the end of the day, the only thing you're going to get judged on when you shut the company down is how you treated all of your stakeholders and how honestly you made that decision. So make it well, but you got to remember that you have just one life. And you don't want to spend it doing something because you told people you're going to do it. You should be doing things because you think they're going to make a difference and because you enjoy doing them.